We're now in the 14th Perek of Shoftim. We're continuing in the story of Shimshon, understanding who this enigmatic figure really is. Vayered Shimshon Timnasa. He goes down to Timnah. Why is that significant? Because where else in Tanakh do we have an understanding of the place of Timnah? Timnah is where Yehuda and Tamar. But when it came to Yehuda, it says Vayal, and he went up. His stature in all of is related to him going to Timnah, to meeting with Tamar, to the whole experience, creating the Malchus David. But here, Vayered Shimshon, he goes down. And he goes down to Timnon. Vayar Isha. Why is that significant? He sees a woman. Chazal say that Shimshon is a Gilgal of Adam Arishon. And just like Adam saw the Eitz Hadas, and that's where that was the fall of grace, so too his job is to use his eyes effectively, but he does not, unfortunately, do that completely because he sees in Isha from the Benos Plishtim. Now, maybe that's in the negative, but let's think about it in the positive. He's seeing the light. He's seeing an opportunity. He's piecing together something that he knows to be true. He knows to be true that he has a shlichus in this world. He doesn't exactly know all the pieces because none of us ever know all of our pieces. But by the same token, Vayar, he sees, I see a loophole. I see how I am going to get one step closer to reaching my ultimate job and goal in life. Vayal, now he goes up. And Vayagid la'aviv limo. Well, compared to the drek of where he was, because he sees a woman from the Plishtim, he's going back up to his parents and he says, Isha ra'isi, again, that same, I see, it's a deeper seeing. And I, ba'atakul ota li isha. Please get her for me as a wife. I want to be married. Wow. We have a guy who's supposed to be dedicated to Lahoshia Es Yisrael is asking his parents, can I have a non-Jewish wife? And his parents say, Ha'imi b'nos achicha, is there no one from Achicha, from anywhere else, from our nation to take? You have to take an Isha from Plishtis, the Arel. You can just imagine the pain. Vayomer Shimshon el Aviv. And he says to his father, Osa chachli ki hi yeshara beinai. I want her because she is a yashar in my eyes. Because perhaps he's piecing together how he is going to be the Moshe of Yisrael. Interestingly enough, remember, his parents are very different people. He asks his father, maybe because he knows his mother's going to read into it, she's going to understand it, or she's a holier woman. She probably took to her room and she's probably crying on her bed, and he is not going to touch that. Another time that they don't know that it's all from Hashem. Remember, they didn't understand that the Malach was from Hashem. They just don't, they're on a different frequency. However high she is, she's still not getting the whole picture. Right? Because it was just a pretext. The Plishtim are in charge. They're ruling over the Bnei Israel. He needed an in, and he found it. He found it in this woman. And Vayered Shimshon, and he goes down, he goes back to Timnah. It's very clear. Tanakh is saying, you are lowering yourself. It might be L'Shem Shamayim, but any time that you hang out in a fish store, you are going to end up smelling like fish. That's just how it goes. Vayavo ad karmei Timnasa. And when he comes to the vineyards of Timnah, what happens? There's a kvir arayo sho'eg l'kraso. There's a full-grown lion who comes roaring at him. Wait a second. Why is he in the vineyards of Timnah? Well, he can't go into, what do you mean? The lion is telling him, you're a nazir, buddy. You cannot go near a vineyard, right? If you're an alcoholic, you don't go into a bar for a cup of tea. It doesn't happen. You're not allowed. You might think that you're strong, but Hashem puts gedarim. We are human beings. We have taivas, we have temptations, desires, and ways that are Yetzer Hara. We don't We don't rely on miracles, and we certainly lifnei iver lo tintin machshol. We don't put stumbling blocks in front of a blind person. This is not a good idea. You don't go near. And so the lion holds him back from going as far as he can go. And it's also a way of showing that Aryeh, you are strong like a lion, Shimshon. This is not an easy feat. You are doing this just l'shem shamayim. We believe in you, but this is not going to be easy. You're going to have to be even stronger than you think. And Hashem, the Spirit of Hashem, grabs him, and he's able to take this lion and tear it. And he doesn't tell his parents what he does. Why? Because he's on a different trajectory. He knows this is all l'shem shamayim. And there, besides, my mother's crying in her room. There's no way I'm going to open up that door anyway. Vayired Vayidaber, and he goes even further, and he speaks to this woman, and it is good in the eyes of Shimshon. He realizes this is really where it's at. I got it. This is my in. She is the one, and it is lock, stock, and barrel. And he returns to marry her the following year, and he sees that inside of the skeleton of the lion, where he was able to have the superhuman powers, he sees that there's a swarm of bees and there's honey. There's some sweetness that comes from something that isn't so good. From all of the difficulty and the strength that he's going to show, Hashem is sending you a message. There's sweetness inside. And what happens, he scoops some of it and he eats it, and they eat it, but he doesn't tell them exactly where he got this honey from. He doesn't tell them because sometimes, right, they're not privy to. This is between him and Hashem. And his father comes down to the woman, and they make a big feast, and there is, there are these people from Timnah, 30 of them. And Shimshon says, "Oh, I've got a riddle for you. When you give it to our Torah at a shaver bracha, at a wedding, there are riddles, there are jokes." And so he says, "I've got a riddle for you. And if you get the right answer during shaver brachas, then I'm going to give you 30 linen coats and 30 sets of clothing." Why 30? We've discussed 30 is the sign of like a full unit completion. You want to be complete? I'm going to give you a complete wardrobe. All you have to do, but a wardrobe, remember, because all of you people, you're wearing garb of strength. You think that you're really there and you're going to be able to take the Bnei Yisrael. Nice try. You're wearing the cloak of a king, but you're certainly not royalty. But if you can't tell me, then you have to give me the sets of clothing. And they say, "Yeah, go for it. Okay, we dare you." And he says, "Ha'ochal yatsa ma'achal u'ma'az yatsa matot." From out of the eater comes something to eat, and out of the strong comes something sweet. And for 3 days they couldn't answer it, and they are pounding on Shimshon's wife, and they are asking her and threatening her life, the life of her family. "You better find out, otherwise were you here to make us look into a fool?" And they harass her. Now remember, he chose her very strategically. She was easily harassed, or so she's just a little pawn. She's a pawn to Shimshon. She's a pawn to these people, and she goes to him and she says, after the shave, she's saying, like, "I don't understand. You must hate me. Rak sanisi below avtani. You could never have loved me, that you're putting me in this position. You told everybody else the riddle, but you don't tell me, And he's like, "No, I didn't tell anybody. It's not just you. It's that I treat this way. Everybody has a tafkid, and your tafkid is yours, and I'm not like that. I treat everybody the same. It's all l'shem shamayim, my friend." But in the end, she harasses him for all 7 days of the shaver brachas. From here, we have the understanding that there is shaver brachas, and she finally explains it to her people, because finally he tells her what the right answer is. On the 7th day, he says, what could be stronger than a lion? Oh, wow. Well, if you looked at the answers, then if you chatted it, then you get the answers. And ultimately, he says to them, "Lulei charashtem be'eglasi lo matzasem b'chitasi." Had you not plowed with my heifer, then you would not have guessed my riddle. And from here we learn that she probably had znus, relations with all of the people, or many of the men, or some of the men, during the time of her shaver brachas. And so he realizes she is really bad news, and he never goes back to her in that way. And the Spirit of Hashem comes down again, and he goes down to Ashkelon, and he kills 30 men. and he takes all their clothing, and in anger, Vayichar apo, he's angry, Vaya'al beis avihu, and he goes for his father's house, and Shimshon's Batihi Eshet Shimshon L'mar'eu Asher Ra'alo, and Shimshon's wife then gets married to one of those other people who had been at the wedding. Clearly, he pegged her for what she was. She was just going to be a pawn. She wasn't going to last. And what he has done, in fact, by doing this, is actually deeper than just the actions. He has now separated himself out. He did something very unusual. He then goes and kills people, innocent people, and gives their clothing over, in a huff. He's clearly separating himself out from Klal Yisrael, as well as from the Plishtim, as well as from his family. He is now left alone. And that's where he wanted to be, because Khalila, he doesn't want to take the Jewish people down with him. He has a job to accomplish. And Khalila, should they become a scapegoat, more than Jews are always a scapegoat. But at the end of the day, it's very, very clear that he has to do something that is going to be very difficult. And to do so, it would be better for him to do that without all of the trimmings of being a Jew. And so now he's just left as a madman who has left his family, whose wife has moved on, who does some very peculiar things, who has an anger management problem, and slowly that is his goal. His goal is to be able to be the Moshiach of Bnei Israel. But sometimes you can do it within the people, and sometimes you have to do it separate from the people. But a leader always takes a hit for the team, and that essentially is what he did in this Perek. He is the Moshiach of Yisrael. He is able to do what his Shevet was always able to do, which is, pick up the pieces from that which was left behind. The Jews are in a dire strait right now. The Plishtim have attacked them, and he is going to pick up the pieces and fix the problem. And in doing so, he's going to negate himself. He's going to negate everything, his everything, l'shem shamayim. Let's see what happens in the next Perek.